The easiest way to fail is to do what everyone else is doing. Most people don't realize they are trapped. They wake up to the same alarm, follow the same routine, work a job they tolerate, and repeat the cycle endlessly, waiting for a breakthrough that never comes. They drown in distractions, numbing themselves with entertainment, social media, and comfort, convincing themselves that someday they will chase their dreams. But someday never comes. Why? Because they follow the 97%, the majority who play it safe, accept limitations, and settle for mediocrity. They choose convenience over challenge, routine over risk, and security over success. Then years later, they look back at their lives with regret, asking, why didn't I do more? But here's the truth. The people who achieve greatness aren't born with superhuman abilities. They don't have a secret advantage. They simply refuse to do what the majority does. They make different choices, take different actions, and develop different mindsets. And because of that, they create lives most people only dream about. Today I'll reveal exactly what separates the 3% from everyone else. The mindset shifts, daily habits, and bold decisions that transform ordinary people into extraordinary successes. By the time you finish this, you'll know what it takes to escape the cycle of mediocrity. The only question is, will you take action, or will you remain where you are? Let's dive in. Number 1, the illusion of the majority. There's a dangerous assumption that most people make. The belief that if the majority is doing something, it must be the right path. From childhood, we are taught to follow the system, trust the rules, and stick to the well-worn road laid out for us. Go to school, get a degree, find a stable job, work for decades, and retire. Society has conditioned us to think that this is the blueprint for success. But if this path is so reliable, why are so many people struggling? Why are the majority of people stressed about money, unhappy with their jobs, and constantly wishing for something more? The answer is simple. The majority is not winning. The harsh reality is that the 97% are stuck in a cycle they never designed. They are handed a script and told to follow it without question. They stay in jobs they dislike because it feels safe. They avoid risks because they are afraid of failure. They trade their dreams for comfort, choosing predictability over potential. And then years down the line, they wake up and realize they have spent their entire lives following a system that was never built for them to thrive, instead only to survive. The illusion of safety keeps them trapped. They assume that doing what everyone else does will lead to a secure and fulfilling future, but in reality it leads to mediocrity and regret. The 3% think differently. They understand that if you do what the majority does, you will get what the majority gets. An average life, an average paycheck, and an average level of fulfillment. They know that true success requires breaking free from the herd. Instead of asking, what is everyone else doing? They ask, what is the right thing to do? They don't blindly trust the system. They analyze it. They don't wait for permission to chase their dreams. They create their own path. And because of that, they achieve results that most people only dream about. Throughout history, the most successful individuals were the ones who refused to follow the crowd. Entrepreneurs who built billion-dollar companies, innovators who revolutionized industries, and leaders who changed the world all had one thing in common. They thought for themselves. Steve Jobs didn't follow the conventional corporate ladder. He built something entirely new. Henry Ford didn't settle for a high-paying job. He took massive risks to create industries that didn't even exist yet. The greatest breakthroughs, inventions, and movements came from those who questioned the status quo and had the courage to do what others wouldn't. It's easy to follow the majority. It feels comfortable. It provides a false sense of security. But if security was found in doing what everyone else does, wouldn't most people be thriving? The truth is, security doesn't come from following the crowd. It comes from building something that cannot be taken away from you. It comes from skills, knowledge, independence, and the willingness to step outside of the norm. The 3% understand this. They know that real success is reserved for those who dare to think differently, act boldly, and take control of their destiny. So ask yourself, are you blindly following the crowd simply because it feels safe? Or are you willing to step outside the illusion, question the norm, and carve your own path? Because the moment you decide to stop thinking like the 97%, you open the door to a life that most people will never experience. The only question is, do you have the courage to walk away? Number 2, taking full responsibility. Most people go through life believing that their circumstances are beyond their control. They blame the government for the economy, their boss for their lack of success, their parents for not giving them a better start, or even bad luck for keeping them stuck. They convince themselves that external forces are responsible for where they are. And because of that belief, they never take the necessary steps to change. But here's the truth. The moment you blame something outside of yourself, you give away your power. If your problems are always someone else's fault, then you are powerless to fix them. This is the mindset that keeps the 97% stuck, constantly waiting for something to change instead of changing themselves. The 3% operate differently. They understand that their life is a direct reflection of their choices, their habits, and their mindset. They take full responsibility for where they are and where they are going. They don't waste time complaining about things they can't control. Instead, they focus entirely on what they can control: their actions, their decisions, and their perspective. They know that success isn't about being born into the right circumstances. It's about making the right choices, even in difficult situations. Two people can face the same obstacle. One will use it as an excuse to give up, while the other will use it as fuel to rise. The difference isn't in the situation, it's in the mindset. Taking responsibility is uncomfortable, and that's why most people avoid it. It's easier to believe that success is a matter of luck or privilege. It's easier to blame circumstances than to admit that your past decisions have led you to where you are. But here's the hard truth. If you are unhappy with your life, your finances, your health, or your relationships, it's because of the choices you've made up to this point. That might be difficult to accept, but it's also the most liberating realization you can have. Because if you created your current situation, that means you have the power to change it. Look at the most successful people in the world. They didn't wait for someone else to improve their situation. They took action. They developed skills, built businesses, and made strategic decisions that led them to success. They didn't wait for motivation to hit. They disciplined themselves to work even when they didn't feel like it. They didn't waste time blaming others. They focused on what they could do to move forward. They took ownership of every aspect of their lives. And because of that, they controlled their destiny. On the other hand, the 97% live reactively. They wait for the economy to improve before they start investing. They wait for their boss to notice them before they start working harder. They wait for the perfect time before they take action on their dreams. But the perfect time never comes. The people who succeed are the ones who act, even when conditions aren't ideal. They understand that waiting is a losing strategy, and action is the only way forward. Your financial situation is a result of your financial habits. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, it's because of how you manage money, not because of the economy, your job, or your upbringing. Your health is a direct result of your daily choices. If you're out of shape, it's because of what you eat and how often you exercise, not because of genetics or lack of time. Your relationships are a reflection of how you communicate, prioritize, and invest in others. Every result in your life is tied to your past decisions. And the good news, you can make different decisions starting today. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is, "I'll start when I'm ready." But you will never feel ready. The right moment will never magically appear. Success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who take action before they feel fully prepared. The 3% don't wait for the stars to align. They create their own opportunities. They take responsibility for their time, their learning, and their future. They don't rely on external motivation. They build habits that keep them progressing every day. If you're serious about changing your life, stop waiting for the world to change and start changing yourself. Take ownership of your actions, your mindset, and your habits. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to hand you success. You are responsible for your own growth, your own progress, and your own future. The sooner you embrace that reality, the sooner you take back control. So ask yourself, are you making excuses or making progress? Are you waiting for things to improve, or are you improving yourself? The difference between the 97% and the 3% isn't luck, it's responsibility. One group blames, the other takes action. The choice is yours. But remember this, the moment you take full responsibility for your life, everything begins to change. Number 3, the art of thinking for yourself. Most people don't realize they are trapped, not by physical barriers, but by mental ones. From an early age, we are conditioned to follow instructions, listen to authority, and accept information without questioning it. Schools teach us what to think, but rarely how to think. Society rewards obedience, not creativity. The result? The majority of people go through life following the script handed to them, never stopping to question if it's actually leading them where they want to go. They listen to what the media tells them, what their peers believe, and what their family expects, never once asking, is this truly what I want? This is why the 97% stay stuck, because they never take the time to develop independent thought. They assume that if the majority believes something, it must be correct. But history proves otherwise. The 3% operate differently. They don't accept ideas at face value. They question everything. They analyze, challenge, and dissect conventional wisdom. They don't simply ask, what is everyone else doing? They ask, what makes the most sense? While the majority moves blindly in the same direction, the 3% pause, reflect, and make calculated decisions based on logic, strategy, and their own personal goals. This is the key to their success. They refuse to let society, tradition, or fear dictate their choices. Instead, they take control of their own minds, and in doing so, take control of their lives. One of the biggest traps people fall into is the assumption that just because something has been done a certain way for years, it must be the best way. But if that were true, progress would never happen. The world has always been changed by those who dared to question the norm. The Wright brothers were ridiculed for believing humans could fly. Henry Ford was mocked for envisioning automobiles as a standard mode of transportation. Steve Jobs was told that a touchscreen smartphone was unnecessary. These people were not geniuses with access to secret knowledge. They simply thought differently. They refused to accept limitations that others blindly followed. And because of that, they created the future while everyone else remained stuck in the past. The truth is, thinking for yourself is one of the hardest things to do. It requires courage. Because when you start questioning the world around you, you realize how much misinformation and fear-based thinking controls people's decisions. It also requires discomfort, because it often means stepping away from the crowd, challenging long-held beliefs, and risking criticism from those who don't understand your perspective. The 97% fear standing alone, so they conform. The 3% embrace standing out, knowing that independence is the first step to real success. To develop independent thinking, you must first challenge your own assumptions. Ask yourself, why do I believe what I believe? Where did this idea come from? Is it based on facts or just repeated opinions? Many of the beliefs that shape our decisions were never truly ours to begin with. They were passed down from parents, teachers, media, and society. But if you never question them, how do you know they are actually serving you? The most successful people take the time to reevaluate their perspectives and seek knowledge beyond what is simply given to them. Reading and learning from diverse sources is one of the most powerful ways to expand your thinking. Most people only consume information that reinforces their existing beliefs. They watch the same news channels, follow the same influencers, and engage in discussions that make them feel comfortable. The 3% do the opposite. They deliberately expose themselves to different perspectives, challenge their own viewpoints, and remain open to new ideas. They read books, listen to successful mentors, and seek wisdom from those who have achieved real results, not just those who have opinions. Another key to independent thinking is spending time alone in deep thought. Most people fill every spare moment with distractions, scrolling through social media, watching entertainment, or engaging in meaningless small talk. They never give themselves the space to think critically about their lives, goals, and decisions. The 3% schedule time for reflection. They analyze their past choices, plan their future moves, and ask themselves hard questions. This habit separates leaders from followers, because true clarity comes from within, not from external noise. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with independent thinking is fear of judgment. They worry about what their friends, family, or colleagues will think if they go against the grain. They hesitate to take risks or try new things because they fear criticism. But here's the truth. The greatest minds in history were ridiculed before they were respected. Every revolutionary idea was once considered crazy. If you want to achieve extraordinary results, you must be willing to ignore ordinary opinions. The 3% don't seek validation from the majority. They seek truth, progress, and growth. So ask yourself, are you thinking for yourself, or are you just repeating what you've been told? Do your decisions reflect your own desires and goals, or are they shaped by the expectations of others? If you want to break free from the 97%, you must train yourself to think differently. Challenge norms. Seek knowledge beyond what's easily available. Develop your own original ideas and perspectives. Because the world doesn't need more people who blindly follow. It needs more people who think, innovate, and create change. Will you be one of them? Number 4, mastering self-discipline. Most people live their lives waiting for motivation. They tell themselves that they'll start working out when they feel like it, that they'll pursue their dreams when inspiration strikes, or that they'll finally take action when the timing is just right. But motivation is a fleeting emotion. It comes and goes like the wind. The reason 97% of people never achieve their full potential isn't because they lack talent or intelligence. It's because they rely on motivation instead of discipline. The 3% understand something that the rest don't. Discipline is the bridge between goals and achievement. It is the force that pushes you forward when motivation disappears. The difference between temporary effort and lasting success. The reason most people avoid discipline is simple. It's uncomfortable. It requires doing things you don't feel like doing. It means waking up early when your body wants to sleep in, going to the gym when you'd rather relax, putting in extra hours on your business when everyone else is out having fun. The 97% look at this and think, that's too hard. The 3% see it and think, that's necessary. The truth is, you will experience pain either way, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Waking up early to chase your goals is painful, but waking up 10 years from now in the same place you are today is far worse. Saying no to distractions is difficult, but realizing you wasted years of your life on meaningless activities is even harder. The question isn't whether you'll experience discomfort, it's which discomfort you are willing to endure. The 3% know that discipline is not something you're born with. It's a skill you build, just like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. At first, pushing yourself to work when you don't feel like it is difficult. Waking up early feels unnatural. Saying no to junk food feels restrictive. But over time, these actions become habits, and habits become your identity. The people who are successful don't have superhuman willpower. They simply built systems that make discipline automatic. They structure their lives in a way that eliminates distractions, minimizes temptations, and forces them to stay on track. They don't rely on willpower alone. They create an environment that supports their goals. One of the biggest lies people believe is that discipline makes life boring or restrictive. In reality, discipline creates freedom. When you're disciplined with your finances, you gain financial freedom. When you're disciplined with your health, you gain physical freedom. When you're disciplined with your time, you gain the freedom to design your life on your own terms. The 97% think discipline is about sacrifice, but the 3% understand that it's about control. Discipline isn't about giving up fun or spontaneity. It's about making intentional choices that align with your long-term vision. It's about deciding what matters most and ensuring your daily actions reflect those priorities. The biggest enemy of discipline is distraction. The world is designed to steal your focus. Social media, entertainment, endless notifications, and mindless scrolling. The 97% fall into these traps every single day, wasting hours on activities that bring no real value. They binge watch shows, scroll through their phones, and spend their free time on things that don't move them forward. Then, they wonder why they aren't where they want to be. The 3% guard their time like it's their most valuable asset, because it is. They eliminate unnecessary distractions, set clear goals, and follow structured routines. They don't let temporary pleasures steal their future success. The most successful people in the world follow one simple rule. They do what needs to be done, whether they feel like it or not. They don't negotiate with laziness. They don't wait for the right mood. They wake up, execute, and repeat every single day. They understand that success isn't about occasional bursts of effort. It's about consistent, disciplined action over time. The results may not be immediate, but they trust the process, knowing that small daily efforts compound into massive long-term success. If you struggle with discipline, start small. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. Pick one habit, wake up 30 minutes earlier, read 10 pages of a book every day, work out for just 15 minutes. The key is consistency. Small wins build momentum, and before you know it, discipline becomes a natural part of who you are. The 3% don't wait for the perfect moment. They take imperfect action. They understand that discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. So ask yourself, are you waiting for motivation, or are you developing discipline? Are you letting your emotions dictate your actions, or are you making decisions based on your long-term goals? The 97% choose comfort, and because of that, they remain stuck. The 3% choose discipline, and because of that, they achieve freedom. The difference isn't talent, intelligence, or luck. It's consistency. It's doing what others won't so that you can live a life others can't. At the end of the day, discipline is the key that unlocks everything you want in life. The only question is, are you willing to do what it takes? Number 5. The influence of your environment. Most people don't realize that their environment is shaping them every single day. The people they interact with, the content they consume, and the places they spend their time in are silently molding their beliefs, their mindset, and ultimately, their future. Yet they rarely stop to question whether their environment is lifting them up or holding them back. This is why the 97% remain stuck in mediocrity, because they surround themselves with mediocrity. They live in negative environments, filled with distractions, toxic influences, and people who reinforce limiting beliefs. They engage in meaningless conversations, waste time with unmotivated individuals, and expose themselves to content that does nothing to move them forward. The truth is, success is not just about what you do. It's also about who and what you allow into your life. The 3% understand that their environment will make or break them. They are intentional about who they surround themselves with, the information they consume, and the habits they develop. They know that success is contagious, just like failure. If you spend time with lazy, unambitious people, their habits will rub off on you. If you are constantly exposed to negativity, whether from coworkers, friends, or even the media, you will start to adopt a negative mindset. But if you surround yourself with disciplined, focused, and ambitious individuals, you will naturally elevate your own standards. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is often not intelligence or talent. It's who they choose to be around and what they allow into their mental space. Think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. Are they pushing you to grow? Are they inspiring you to think bigger, work harder, and chase your dreams? Or are they draining your energy with complaints, excuses, and small-minded thinking? Most people don't realize it, but you are the average of the 5 people you interact with the most. If they have bad habits, you will absorb those habits. If they lack ambition, you will start to lower your own expectations. The wrong environment will keep you stuck, no matter how hard you try to move forward. The biggest mistake people make is thinking they can rise above their environment without changing it. But the truth is, you cannot outperform your surroundings. If your friends are constantly gossiping, procrastinating, and making excuses, you will get sucked into that same cycle. But if you immerse yourself in an environment where discipline, hard work, and success are the norm, you will start thinking and acting like a winner. This is why successful people invest in mastermind groups, business networks, and personal development events. They know that the fastest way to level up is to be around people who are already playing at a higher level. They aren't afraid to distance themselves from negative influences because they understand that their future is too valuable to be poisoned by small-minded thinking. One of the most powerful things you can do to change your life is to audit your environment. Take a hard look at the people you spend time with, the content you consume, and the places you go. Are they helping you grow or keeping you stagnant? If your environment is filled with distractions, negativity, and people who don't challenge you, it's time to make a change. This doesn't mean you have to cut people off completely, but you do need to limit the time and energy you give to relationships that no longer serve you. Protect your space. Your success depends on it. The 3% are intentional about their environment. They seek out mentors who challenge them, books that expand their thinking, and communities that inspire growth. They don't waste time arguing with people who don't want to grow. They don't engage in meaningless gossip or drama. They put themselves in rooms where they are the least experienced person because they know that being around higher-level thinkers will force them to level up. They surround themselves with success because they know that success is a byproduct of the environment they create. This is why the 3% consume better information, while the 97% waste time watching mindless entertainment, scrolling social media, and consuming news that fills them with fear and doubt. The 3% choose their inputs carefully. They read books, listen to successful mentors, and engage with content that educates and empowers them. They don't let the world program their mindset with negativity. They program their own minds for success. They are intentional about what they watch, who they listen to, and what they allow into their thoughts. But here's the hard truth. Not everyone will support your growth. Some people will feel threatened by your ambition. They will try to pull you back down because your success reminds them of their own lack of progress. You must be willing to walk away from relationships that no longer align with your goals. This doesn't mean you don't care about people. It means you care about your future more than you care about fitting in. So ask yourself, is your environment setting you up for success, or is it keeping you stuck? Are the people around you inspiring you to grow, or are they reinforcing habits that hold you back? If you want to be in the 3%, you need to take control of your surroundings. Change the conversations you engage in. Consume information that elevates your thinking. Spend time with people who challenge and push you to be better. Your environment is shaping your destiny, so make sure it's shaping you into the person you want to become. Number 6, the power of relentless learning. Most people stop learning the moment they leave school. They believe that education is something you complete, not something you continue. They assume that once they have a degree, a diploma, or a bit of work experience, they know enough to navigate life. But this is the mindset that keeps the 97% stuck, living paycheck to paycheck, stuck in jobs they don't love, and never progressing beyond where they started. The 3% understand something that the majority never realize: learning never stops. Success is not about what you know. It's about how fast you can learn, adapt, and apply new knowledge. The world is constantly evolving, and those who refuse to grow get left behind. The most successful people in any field are not necessarily the smartest. They are simply the ones who continue to educate themselves long after everyone else has stopped. The biggest reason people stay stuck is because they think they already know enough. They assume that because they have experience, they don't need to keep learning. But the truth is, the moment you stop learning, you start declining. The world changes every day. New technologies emerge, industries evolve, opportunities shift. The people who stay ahead are the ones who invest in their knowledge. The 3% don't wait for someone to teach them. They take ownership of their own education. They read books, take courses, seek mentors, and constantly expand their skill set. They understand that learning is the key to earning, and the more they grow, the more valuable they become. On the other hand, the 97% make excuses. They say they don't have time to read, yet they spend hours watching TV or scrolling through social media. They claim they can't afford to invest in learning, yet they waste money on things that don't add value to their future. They believe that learning is something you do only when necessary, while the 3% treat it as a daily priority. Successful people don't view learning as an occasional activity. They integrate it into their daily routines. They know that every book they read, every skill they develop, and every piece of knowledge they acquire gives them an edge over the competition. But learning isn't just about consuming information. It's about applying it. Too many people watch motivational videos, read self-improvement books, and attend seminars. Yet they never take action. They mistake information for transformation. Knowledge without execution is useless. The 3% don't just learn, they implement. They take what they've studied and put it into practice immediately. They experiment, they fail, they adjust, and they improve. This is why they keep growing, while others remain stagnant. Learning is not about collecting facts. It's about developing the ability to solve problems, think critically, and create value. The fastest way to accelerate your success is to learn directly from people who have already achieved what you want. The 97% take advice from their broke friends, their negative coworkers, and people who have never built anything of value. The 3% are intentional about who they learn from. They study the habits of millionaires, they listen to successful mentors, and they only take advice from those who have real results. They understand that success leaves clues, and if you want to be successful, you must learn from those who have already paved the way. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate relentless learning is to read. Studies show that the average CEO reads 50-60 books per year, while the average person reads less than 4. That's not a coincidence. Reading gives you access to decades of knowledge and experience in just a few hours. Books allow you to learn from the failures and successes of others without having to go through the same struggles yourself. The 3% prioritize learning because they know that every book they read, every new skill they acquire, and every course they take compounds over time. The more they learn, the more doors open for them. Another critical aspect of continuous learning is adaptability. The 97% resist change because it's uncomfortable. They stick to what they know, even when it no longer serves them. The 3% embrace change. They are constantly upgrading their skills, staying ahead of trends, and adapting to new opportunities. They know that what worked yesterday may not work tomorrow, so they stay proactive in their education. The world is moving faster than ever, and those who refuse to evolve will find themselves obsolete. The 3% don't wait until they are forced to learn. They stay ahead by making learning a way of life. If you want to break free from the 97%, you must commit to relentless learning. That means making personal development a daily habit. Read 10 pages of a book every day. Listen to podcasts that challenge your thinking. Take courses that develop high-income skills. Seek out mentors who have walked the path before you. Engage in discussions that expand your perspective. The more you expose yourself to new knowledge, the faster you'll grow. The question is, are you growing every day, or are you the same person you were a year ago? If you're not actively learning, you're falling behind. The world is evolving, industries are changing, and the opportunities of tomorrow will belong to those who are prepared. The 3% are always learning, adapting, and growing. The 97% stay the same, and that's why they remain stuck. If you want to escape the cycle of mediocrity, commit to relentless learning. The more you learn, the more options you create for yourself. The more skills you develop, the more valuable you become. The question is, will you stay comfortable with what you already know? Or will you challenge yourself to grow beyond it? The choice is yours. Number 7. Mastering time like the 3%. Time is the most valuable asset you have, yet most people treat it like it's unlimited. They wake up without a plan, waste hours on distractions, and then wonder why they never make progress. They say they don't have enough time to start a business, go to the gym, or learn new skills, yet they spend hours scrolling through social media, binge-watching TV shows, and engaging in meaningless activities. This is why the 97% never achieve their full potential, because they let time control them instead of mastering their time. The 3% understand that time is more valuable than money. Money can be lost and regained, but time, once wasted, is gone forever. That's why they protect it fiercely. They don't let distractions steal their focus. They don't waste days doing things that don't matter, and they don't live reactively. Every minute they have is an opportunity to move forward, learn, grow, and build a future most people only dream about. The biggest difference between the 3% and the 97% is how they use their time. The unsuccessful spend their days in reaction mode, responding to emails, scrolling through feeds, and doing low-value tasks that make them feel busy but don't actually move them forward. The successful, on the other hand, design their days with intention. They plan their schedules in advance, prioritize their most important tasks, and eliminate anything that doesn't serve their goals. They don't start the day aimlessly. They wake up with a mission. They know exactly what needs to get done, and they execute with focus and discipline. One of the most powerful ways to master time is by prioritizing high-value activities. Not all tasks are equal. Some actions create real impact, while others just keep you occupied. The 97% confuse being busy with being productive. They check emails, attend endless meetings, and jump from task to task without making real progress. The 3% apply the 80-20th rule, meaning they focus on the 20% of tasks that generate 80% of their results. Instead of trying to do everything, they focus on the few things that truly matter, whether it's improving their skills, building income-generating assets, or making strategic decisions that drive real success. They work smarter, not harder. Another key to mastering time is eliminating distractions. Most people let their attention be stolen by their phones, notifications, and unnecessary conversations. They waste time on social media, respond to every message instantly, and allow interruptions to dictate their day. The 3% don't operate this way. They guard their focus like their life depends on it, because it does. They turn off notifications, schedule deep work sessions, and create an environment that minimizes distractions. They understand that every moment wasted on entertainment or mindless browsing is a moment stolen from their future success. The 3% also use time blocking to structure their days. Instead of hoping they'll find time for important tasks, they schedule everything. They set dedicated time slots for work, exercise, learning, and personal development. They treat their goals like non-negotiable appointments, just like a doctor's visit or an important meeting. They don't rely on willpower. They create systems that ensure they stay productive. Another powerful habit they follow is the one-touch rule. If something takes less than 2 minutes to do, they do it immediately. Instead of letting small tasks pile up and clutter their mind, they handle them right away. This prevents procrastination and keeps them in constant motion. The 97% let small, unfinished tasks accumulate, draining their mental energy. The 3% keep their mental space clear by addressing things as they come, allowing them to focus on what truly matters. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that they don't have enough time. But the truth is, everyone has the same 24 hours. It's how you use them that makes the difference. The 97% waste time on low-value activities, while the 3% maximize every hour. They understand that the key to success isn't just working harder, it's working on the right things, consistently, over time. They don't let their day happen by chance. They design their day for success. The 3% also understand the power of saying no. The unsuccessful say yes to everything. They agree to unnecessary meetings, accept every invitation, and take on tasks that don't align with their goals. But every yes to something unimportant is a no to something that truly matters. The 3% protect their time by being selective. They say no to distractions, no to meaningless obligations, and no to anything that doesn't contribute to their bigger vision. They are ruthless with their priorities, because they know that time wasted is time they will never get back. If you want to start controlling your time like the 3%, track how you're spending it. For the next 24 hours, write down everything you do. You'll be shocked at how much time is being wasted on things that add no value. Once you see where your time is going, start cutting out the unnecessary. Set clear priorities, plan your day the night before, and wake up knowing exactly what needs to be done. Stop reacting. Start executing. The 97% will always struggle with time because they don't value it. They let distractions control them. They waste hours on meaningless activities, and they wonder why they never make progress. The 3% take full ownership of their time. They structure their days, focus on high-value tasks, and eliminate everything that doesn't serve their vision. So ask yourself, are you spending your time or are you investing it? Are you filling your day with activities that push you forward, or are you just keeping yourself busy? Every hour wasted is an hour you can never get back. Every day spent on distractions is a day stolen from your goals. If you want to be in the 3%, start mastering your time today. Because while the 97% are busy being busy, the 3% are busy building their future. Number 8. Thinking long-term. Most people are trapped in short-term thinking. They focus on what feels good now, instead of what will benefit them in the future. They spend money recklessly instead of investing it. They avoid hard work in favor of quick comfort, and they chase instant gratification instead of long-term rewards. This is why the 97% remain stuck. They think about what they want today, not what they want most. They make decisions based on impulse, emotions, and immediate pleasure, never considering how those choices will impact their future. The 3% think differently. They play the long game. They understand that success isn't built overnight. It's built through years of disciplined choices, strategic actions, and unwavering commitment to a bigger vision. They are willing to delay gratification because they know that real success comes to those who can sacrifice temporary comfort for permanent freedom. Short-term thinking is the reason most people struggle financially. The 97% spend money the moment they earn it, buying things they don't need to impress people who don't care. They rack up debt, live paycheck to paycheck, and never build real wealth. They prioritize material possessions over financial security, trading their future freedom for fleeting moments of status. The 3%, on the other hand, see money differently. They know that every dollar they spend is either an investment in their future or a step backward. Instead of spending impulsively, they invest in assets, stocks, real estate, businesses that generate income over time. They understand that true wealth isn't measured by how much you make, but by how much you keep and grow. While the 97% focus on making money to spend it, the 3% focus on making money work for them. This same principle applies to health. The 97% look for shortcuts. They want to lose weight without exercising, build muscle without putting in the effort, and maintain their health without making better food choices. They eat junk food because it's convenient, skip workouts because they don't feel like it, and then wonder why their energy levels decline as they age. They choose comfort now and pay for it later. The 3% take a different approach. They prioritize long-term health over temporary pleasure. They exercise even when they don't feel like it. They eat nutritious food because they know their future self will thank them. They understand that health is an investment, not an expense, and they make small, consistent choices every day that compound over time into a strong, energetic, and capable body. The same applies to career and business success. The 97% want instant results. They look for get-rich-quick schemes, job promotions without putting in extra effort, and shortcuts to success that don't require real work. But the 3% understand that mastery takes time. They are willing to put in the work to develop expertise, learn high-income skills, and build businesses that may take years to succeed but will pay off for a lifetime. They know that every skill they acquire, every lesson they learn, and every challenge they overcome is an investment in their future success. They don't chase trends or look for the fastest way to results. They build foundations that create long-term stability and growth. Relationships are another area where long-term thinking makes all the difference. The 97% want instant connection, instant approval, and instant validation. They don't invest time in building strong relationships, maintaining trust, or deepening their connections. They take people for granted, burn bridges, and assume that relationships will always be there when they need them. The 3% know that real relationships, whether personal or professional, require patience, understanding, and consistent effort. They invest in people, nurture connections, and build trust over time. They know that the strongest relationships are not formed overnight, but through years of mutual support, respect, and shared growth. Thinking long-term is a mindset shift. It requires patience, discipline, and the ability to delay gratification for a greater reward later. It means resisting the urge to take the easy way out, and instead choosing to put in the work today for a better future. It requires the ability to say no to things that bring temporary pleasure but long-term regret. The 3% don't just think about the next few months. They think about the next 5, 10, or 20 years. They make choices today that their future self will thank them for. If you want to be successful, you have to start making decisions from a long-term perspective. Ask yourself, will this choice serve me in the future? Or is it just about short-term pleasure? Are you spending your time and money in a way that will benefit you 5 years from now? Or are you only thinking about what feels good right now? The 97% focus on immediate gratification, comfort, entertainment, and pleasure. The 3% focus on what will create lasting freedom, discipline, growth, and investments. This mindset applies to everything. If you want to build wealth, you have to be willing to save and invest instead of spending impulsively. If you want to be healthy, you have to commit to daily habits instead of looking for quick fixes. If you want to build a successful career or business, you have to be patient, keep learning, and put in the work instead of looking for shortcuts. The difference between the 97% and the 3% is not intelligence, talent, or luck. It's the ability to think long-term instead of chasing instant gratification. So, which group do you want to be in? Are you willing to sacrifice temporary pleasure for a future of abundance? Are you willing to put in the work today so that your future self can thrive? If you are, then you're already thinking like the 3%. And that mindset is what will separate you from the 97%, who will always wonder why success never came to them. Number 9, the courage to take risks. Fear keeps most people trapped in mediocrity. They fear failure, rejection, uncertainty, and stepping into the unknown. They want guarantees, safety, and predictability, but the reality is that nothing great in life comes without risk. The 97% stay stuck because they avoid taking risks at all costs. They settle for jobs they don't love, relationships that don't fulfill them, and routines that bring no growth because they are afraid of what might happen if they step outside their comfort zone. But here's the truth. The only guarantee in life is that if you never take risks, you will never grow. Playing it safe is actually the riskiest thing you could do because it ensures that nothing in your life will ever change. The 3% understand this. They embrace risk, knowing that everything they want, freedom, success, and fulfillment, is on the other side of fear. They don't wait for certainty. They move forward despite uncertainty. The biggest lie people believe is that they need to feel ready before they take action. They think they need more knowledge, more confidence, or more money before they start. But here's the reality. You will never feel 100% ready. The only way to build confidence is by taking action. The more you step into the unknown, the more you realize that fear is just an illusion. It exists only in your mind, and it disappears the moment you face it. The 3% understand that waiting for the perfect moment is just another excuse to procrastinate. They know that the right time never comes. You have to create it. Think about it. Every successful person you admire took risks. Entrepreneurs who built billion-dollar companies didn't start with guarantees of success. Athletes who became world champions didn't know for sure that they would win. Leaders who changed the world didn't wait for permission to take action. They took risks, faced uncertainty, and moved forward anyway. That is why they are in the 3%, because they were willing to do what the 97% weren't. Most people focus on what could go wrong. They ask themselves, What if I fail? What if I lose money? What if people judge me? But the 3% ask a different question. What if I succeed? What if this risk changes my life? What if the reward is worth it? They focus on possibility instead of fear. They understand that every major breakthrough in life comes from taking a leap into the unknown. They don't let fear control them because they know that the greatest risk is staying the same. One of the biggest reasons people avoid risk is because they are afraid of failure. But failure is not the opposite of success. It is a necessary part of success. The 3% understand that every failure is a lesson. Every setback is an opportunity to grow, and every mistake is a stepping stone toward their goal. They don't let failure define them, they use it to refine them. The 97% let failure stop them, while the 3% let failure push them forward. They know that the only real failure is never trying at all. Taking risks doesn't mean being reckless. The 3% don't gamble their future away. They take calculated risks, they gather information, make strategic decisions, and take action despite uncertainty. They invest in themselves, build businesses, move to new opportunities, and take chances that others shy away from. They know that playing it safe will never lead to a life of freedom and fulfillment. They bet on themselves because they understand that no one else is going to do it for them. The 97% wait for guarantees. They want to know the outcome before they make a move. But life doesn't work that way. The 3% take action first and figure things out along the way. They trust that they will adapt, learn, and grow through experience. They understand that taking risks is the only way to create real opportunities. One of the greatest regrets people have at the end of their lives is not taking more chances. They don't regret the things they tried and failed at. They regret the things they never attempted. They regret staying in jobs they hated, staying in relationships that no longer serve them, and staying stuck because they were afraid of change. If you don't take risks now, you will wake up one day wondering, what if? And by then it might be too late. So ask yourself, what risk have you been avoiding? What dream have you been putting off because you're scared to fail? What opportunity have you ignored because it felt uncomfortable? If you want to be in the 3%, you must stop letting fear control your life. Take action even when you feel uncertain. Make bold decisions even when they scare you. Choose growth over comfort. The people who win in life are the ones who take chances. The people who stay stuck are the ones who hesitate. Which one will you be? Number 10. Wealth and freedom beyond just money. Most people think wealth is about having a large bank account, driving luxury cars, and owning expensive things. They believe that if they could just earn more money, they would finally feel free. But the truth is, wealth is not about money, it's about freedom. It's about the ability to wake up every morning and decide what to do with your time. It's about being able to walk away from situations, jobs, or relationships that no longer serve you. It's about having choices, not just possessions. Yet the 97% never achieve this kind of freedom because they chase money instead of understanding what true wealth really is. They work harder, take on more responsibilities, and increase their expenses in pursuit of a number in their bank account, thinking it will one day set them free. But the more they earn, the more they spend. They stay trapped in the same cycle, earning just enough to survive, but never enough to truly break free. The 3% see things differently. They don't just work for money. They make money work for them. They build assets that generate passive income, invest in businesses that grow over time, and develop skills that allow them to earn on their own terms. They understand that money is not the goal, freedom is. The 97% fall into the trap of working harder instead of working smarter. They believe that the only way to make more money is to work longer hours, climb the corporate ladder, and sacrifice more of their time. But no matter how hard they work, they never seem to get ahead. They trade their time for money, and because time is limited, so is their income. The 3% understand that wealth is not about working more. It's about building systems that allow you to earn without constantly trading time for a paycheck. They invest in real estate, stocks, and businesses that generate money even when they're not actively working. They focus on leveraging their time, so instead of being stuck in the endless cycle of work and bills, they create streams of income that give them the freedom to live life on their own terms. The biggest mistake most people make is assuming that wealth is about looking rich. The 97% spend their money on things that make them appear successful. New cars, designer clothes, expensive vacations, without realizing that true wealth isn't about appearances. It's about control. The 3% don't care about looking rich. They care about owning their life. They live below their means, reinvest their income, and focus on long-term financial security. While the majority of people spend everything they earn, the wealthy build financial foundations that allow them to live without worrying about money. But here's where most people go wrong. They think wealth is just about finances. They chase money so obsessively that they neglect other areas of life. They work long hours, but sacrifice their health. They build businesses, but destroy their relationships. They accumulate money, but never find purpose. The 3% understand that real wealth is about balance. It's about having time for family, energy for passion projects, and the ability to give back. It's about designing a life that is fulfilling in every aspect, not just financially. Money alone will never make you happy, but having control over your time, choices, and opportunities will. One of the key differences between the 97% and the 3% is how they view money. The unsuccessful see money as something to be spent. The successful see money as a tool. They don't just save money, they make it work for them. They invest in knowledge, personal development, and income-producing assets. They don't spend to impress others. They spend to create freedom. They understand that every dollar they invest today is a seed that will grow into financial independence in the future. The 3% also know the importance of having multiple income streams. The 97% rely on a single paycheck, putting themselves in a financially vulnerable position. If they lose their job, their entire lifestyle collapses. The wealthy never put themselves in that position. They create multiple sources of income so that no single event can wipe out their financial security. They have businesses, investments, and passive income streams that continue to generate wealth no matter what happens in the job market. But wealth is not just about what you accumulate, it's also about how you use it. The 3% understand that money is most valuable when it is used to create impact. They don't hoard wealth for the sake of it. They use it to build something bigger than themselves. They invest in causes, create opportunities for others, and leave a legacy. They understand that real success is not just measured by how much you have, but by what you do with it. If you want to escape the 97%, stop chasing money and start building freedom. Learn how to invest. Start a business. Develop skills that allow you to earn on your own terms. Focus on creating a life where you are not controlled by a paycheck, a boss, or a schedule you hate. Because real wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in how much of your life you actually own. So ask yourself, are you working to survive, or are you working to create freedom? Are you spending money to impress others, or are you using it to build a life of independence? The 97% will spend their entire lives chasing money. The 3% build wealth, create freedom, and live life on their own terms. Which one will you be? Everything we've talked about, the mindset, the habits, the discipline, the courage to take risks, it all comes down to one thing: choice. Success is not reserved for the lucky few. It's not about being born into the right circumstances, having the right connections, or waiting for the perfect moment. The difference between the 97% and the 3% isn't talent, intelligence, or luck. It's the decisions they make every single day. The 97% choose comfort, excuses, and distractions. The 3% choose growth, responsibility, and action. The reality is, where you end up in life is a direct result of the choices you make, not the circumstances you were born into. So the question is, which one will you be? Will you continue to follow the crowd, living on autopilot, waiting for the right time to take action? Or will you break free, take control, and start building a life on your own terms? The truth is, most people will never make that choice. They will continue wasting time, blaming their circumstances, and hoping that one day things will magically improve. But things won't change unless you change. The difference between success and regret isn't knowledge, it's execution. It's not what you know that matters, it's what you do with what you know. Right now, you have a choice. You can walk away from this feeling inspired for a moment, then go back to your old habits. Or you can make the decision to start doing what the 97% aren't willing to do. You can start taking control of your time, eliminating distractions, building discipline, and finally taking the risks you've been avoiding. Stop waiting. Stop making excuses. Start now. Make a commitment today, whether it's taking full responsibility for your life, developing relentless self-discipline, or shifting your mindset to think long-term. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. Because the greatest regret in life isn't failure. It's never trying. The 97% will keep living the same life, year after year, wondering why nothing ever changes. The 3% will take action, push through discomfort, and create a future most people only dream about. Which side will you be on? The choice is yours.